And today we're actually starting round 2 of our icon series. We already got to meet all of our icons, except for Kate Parisi, but she has a little baby that she's taking care of, so that's why she hasn't been here yet, but she'll join us as soon as she can. She's taking care of Estella. And today we have Coti. So thanks for joining us, Coti. And it's Q&A, guys, so just bring your questions, and Coti is going to answer all of them. But for starters, just to make sure that we're all on the same page, Coti, can you just give us a little background on you, on how you started, when you joined EXP, when you icon, just so we're all on the same page, and then we can go with questions.
So I started in real estate in July of 2018, so relatively still new to the business. I started at actually Berkshire on a team, and then we broke out after about 8 months and started a local boutique brokerage where we co-owned a broker. After about a year, I was really not feeling the long term of that. We had a great brand. We're profitable in the first year, but I didn't see that after a year. I was going, I don't see this being our life for the next 3, 5, 10 years. That's when I started really exploring EXP. And so I had talked to Gogo and Mark and different folks in the organization. Actually, somebody had presented, it was really funny because I was thinking about this the other day. We actually went to, recruit somebody at our brokerage before, and it was a guy that had told us about EXP at the time. He was with EXP, and I remember hearing it from him and being like, no. And I remember I heard it someplace else too. So it's so funny when Gogo talks about how you have to hear this multiple times from multiple people. And it's not always the first person that you hear it from, and it's not even the people you seek out, but it's the people that watch you sometimes. Because Gogo, I was not on her radar. I stalked her on Instagram, and honestly, Mark Z, because I'm in Greater Michigan, so I'm up here, right? And he's down here. And when you get so big in this industry, people start talking shit about you for no reason, right? It happens. And so all the stories I had heard about Mark Z were these awful stories, this tyrant of a man. And then I get him on Zoom, and here he was nice, and he made sense, and he had great business ideas. And I was going, oh my gosh, this doesn't make sense from the things I've heard. So I took probably about 6 months where that decision really ate at me, mainly because I had this brand that I built from the ground up, and our cornerstone of our business was really with a servant heart. It was giving back. It was giving back at each transaction, whether it be a financial donation or service hours or, something in this community. Because at the end of the day, my goal with real estate was always about becoming the community realtor, about how can I serve this community, because I knew that was going to be a win-win all the way around. I knew that my business was going to win, but I knew clients were going to win and the community would. And when I finally made that switch to EXP about a year ago, I just hit the ground running. I've never been a good one for asking what's normal, because when I first got started in real estate, I remember everybody saying, well, if you do 6 or 7 transactions your first year, that's really good. That's normal. And I looked at the numbers, and I had been a stay-at-home mom for about 4 years. But before that, I was in corporate America where, between salary and bonuses, it was a 6-figure income. And I wanted to go back to that. Not only did I want real estate to be the answer to getting me an identity and an accomplishment outside the home again, but I had big ideas where I thought, well, gosh, if we do this and we do this full time, then maybe my husband can do this with us. Maybe we can be a full-time real estate family. And so my first year in, full year in, I did over 10 million in volume, did 50 transactions. Second year was 13 million and 64 transactions. This year, I have zero idea what we're at. Ty's in the other room. He can probably tell us. But we grow each year, and we have done that since we left that brokerage behind. We left our old broker partner when we came to EXP, and left the original name right and brand. We took essentially the brand is you. So even though that was hard and it was sad to some degree, because I feel like I birthed that, I think women can appreciate that as well. But I also knew people in this community know me for me, you know, and quite frankly, it's just like when you jump from brokerage to brokerage, people still will share my name with other people and still use our old brokerage name, or they'll still call me and use the old brokerage name, right? Like you are your brand. And so as much as that was really hard, it was necessary for growth, right? It was absolutely necessary to move forward. But we've done that organically. We've done that by serving our community. That's how we grow our business. Is we don't, not that there's anything against this, because I actually started on a team that had this, but we don't pay any money for Zillow leads, Realtor leads. We don't spend any money in those places. All of our marketing dollars, in theory, are used to pour into the community. And we have grown organically tremendously over the last couple of years without needing to spend that kind of money up front.
Oh, that's great. So when you guys joined, you already, it's clearly that you are a go-getter. So, you know, just like you said, there's no normal. I'm just going to do and be the best version that I can be. But did you guys join like having in mind, hey, I can icon and I'm going to icon and this is the big goal? Or you were just like doing, and you're like, hey, I can do this?
So this is going to make me sound really snotty, and I do not mean it to be this way, okay? But when I started, I didn't think of icon as a big goal, because I was like, well, yeah, I'm going to get started and I'm going to cap and I'm going to icon, and then I'm going to figure the rest of this shit out and I'm going to build a big ass team. Like that was my whole mentality, right? And it's funny because, well, we capped in our first month. Well, I capped in my first month, and then I keep saying we, my husband's in the other room. So in case you wonder who the we is, we are a husband and wife team, and I am the client facing portion of our business, and he is our operations piece of it. So we capped in our first month, iconed in our third month, and now we've been trying to figure out the agent attraction piece along the way. And I'll be honest, that piece is probably the hardest. And it's not because agents don't reach out, because I every single week have many messages on Instagram asking about impact agents, asking about our team, asking about our growth and stuff. You know, I'll be very vulnerable on here. One, it's a very different part of business, like turning off the transaction piece and turning on the mentor and coaching piece. It's two totally separate things. And it's just like, it reminds me of almost in the beginning when I was going, and I had zero expectations of making literally like any good income for like the first 6 months. I had to make money to get by, because when we first started, I actually was coming, like I said, out of being a stay-at-home mom. Ty was actually, his position remote was getting eliminated. He wasn't able to work remote anymore. And so all of a sudden our plans changed from, oh, I'll do real estate and I'll figure this out, to crap, I got to do real estate and really figure this out quick. But I knew I wanted to come on board. I knew I would cap an icon, but I looked at the bigger picture, because to me, I have hit the ground running from the day I was like licensed and got going, right? And so anybody that's on here that's been doing it for a minute, you can appreciate that at some point in time, and it's definitely decently early, depending on how much production you're doing, you're going to get tired. You're going to get burnt out with opening doors all the time. You're going to get burnt out with doing open houses all the time. And so you've got to figure out, like, if I'm going to be a top producer, I'm not going to be able to do it alone. Am I going to build a team? What's that team going to look like? Is my top producer kind of more of a Gogo based team? Is it more of a Mark's team, like with Kurt leading it? You know, there's so many different ways to slice and dice it, but I am in the middle of figuring that piece out right now. You know, we have 13 agents that have become business partners with us, and we're so blessed to get to have each one of them to work alongside of. But that's the piece. I'm not gonna lie, I thought that it would be just like iconing. I thought I'd like hit the ground running, like, shoot, I'm gonna have 50 people, 100 people. And it's such a different dynamic, and it's such a leap of faith, because you have to turn off some of this piece that you're used to, this transactional piece, in order to focus on the business of supporting everyone else. And that doesn't bring solid, you know, $2,800 for your first line for a year for people that cap. That doesn't bring a crazy lucrative first line of income. you have to be patient, just like I was in the beginning when I first, got rolling with my business. So, yeah, I knew that I would. And I think that's kind of just how I've approached everything in real estate. Like when I got started, I told everybody I was going to do 10 million my first year, and everybody looked at me like I had a third eye. They're like, nobody does that their first year. Like, you're crazy. And I'm like, I don't know why you think I'm crazy. Just because you didn't do it, it doesn't mean I can't do it. So yeah, we did plan on iconing, and that was one of the biggest reasons we came to EXP. I honestly don't know that that's realistically our goal this year, to be truthful, because just like we had those conversations with Gogo during agent attraction, it's okay, well, my icon paid me this year, but it's not like it's going to pay me next year, right? Whereas if I'm growing with agents that want to grow as well, that's a residual income. That's an income that continues to pay and pay and pay. This year, weirdly enough, it might very well just happen because of just straightforward work ethic in the market. But yeah, we had every intentions on iconing for sure.
Got it. So you actually mentioned something that I wanted to ask you. It's like, okay, I've iconed, and what comes next? And we see that most agents, especially in Team Gogo, are focused, okay, now that I've iconed, I'm going to build my team for the exact same reasons that you've just mentioned. And some people are like, well, now that I've iconed, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to take a vacation, I'm going to celebrate, and then I'm going to restart. Or now I'm good, I just want to icon again next year. So how much you have figured out about this attraction part? Because I can see that, as you said, you're struggling. You thought it would be a little easier, and even though there's people coming, it takes some time to build the relationships and to bring them over. So how are you working on that, and what kind of tips you can give to us?
Well, if I give anybody the tip, honestly, I compartmentalized things so much when I came on board. I looked at it like steps, and I said, okay, number one, I'm going to cap. Number two, I'm going to icon. Number three, I'm going to grow a team, right? And I would throw all of that out the window. There's no way I would recommend anybody does it that way, personally. And I think a lot of us think like that. I know Lynn's on here, and she's an icon. And was one of our very first business partners. And I think that she kind of thought somewhat like that as well. Like, because you feel like, well, once I icon, then I can share it with the world, and then people will, want to partner with me. But here's the reality: people watch your journey from day one. And I think the bigger thing is, like, strike when the iron's hot. When you first move over, in your first few weeks to first few months to even your first year, people are watching. And sadly enough, some people are watching and wondering if you're going to fail. But when you succeed, and as you have those successes along the way, that's the time to really have those conversations and draw those people in. If it was something that I would have done differently, I wouldn't have compartmentalized it. I would have, from the beginning, just shared, how excited I was. And I shared a little bit, but I definitely think I played small when it came to that. Even in the beginning, I think I didn't put out there as much that it was EXP. And, it's going to sound terrible. I think many people that have been here for a minute might have done the same thing. It almost felt like you knew it was the right thing, but that you had heard all the rumors that everybody else said, and you knew it was the right thing for you, but you're scared to share it because it felt like kind of your dirty little secret where you're going, this is mine, and I know it works for me, but everybody's going to make fun of me or whatever because I went to a cloud-based broker and it's EXP, and everybody thinks I'm just going to recruit all the time. And I just think to myself, I really wish I would have done that differently, because excitement draws attention. And it's so easy now to feel like I am sharing something so legitimate because I've lived it. But what I would have done is I would have shared the legitimacy that I knew from Gogo and from Mark and from Curtis and from other people that I had decided to be business partners with, and share that along the way. So, I mean, my next step of growth is just continuing to fine tune. I think the other thing is I definitely think that comparison is what can hold a lot of us back. And I think it's so easy. I fall into the same thing where I'll look at Gogo and think, well, I can do that, but I can't do that. And I can't do that. And, that's how she does it. And I'm also comparing like her middle to my beginning. And that's just not fair for my own journey. And we all have to make sure that we scrap that, because I think it's so easy to say, well, gosh, I can't do that. Well, guess what? You're not meant to do that. Like, God made us all different. You got to figure out what makes you tick and what draws people to you. But that is, I mean, that is definitely our next step. We're continuing to grow. The number one thing people reach out to us for is asking how we grew so fast and so stable. Like our foundation of our community referring to us is one of the most solid I've ever seen, with agents that even have 20 years in business, right? And that's the number one thing people reach out to us for. So we're actually building a curriculum about it. And for us, that was one, to make sure that we can share that with other people. And two, that, you know, in the beginning, I was taking hour-long Zooms to share as much as I could with agents, and I just can't do that anymore. And nor does it give it really any of that much justice to try to share everything in an hour. So putting together a curriculum, which is something I never thought I would do, put an online course together that, and it also will help us create two things. It'll create another passive income stream, and it'll create an avenue for us for agent attraction as well. So that's really our next steps for our business. And I do think that no matter what, business attracts other business partners. So, I mean, I don't ever see myself being completely out of transactions necessarily, but cutting back tremendously. Yeah. You know, everybody jokes and says, well, you get the flexibility to work whatever hours you want. And the reality is you work all of them, right? And then the other piece where they're like, well, there's, you know, you could, if you pull everything back and just try to focus on agent attraction, and people say, well, there's no ceiling. Well, guess what? There's also no floor when it comes to real estate. So you got to pay the bills in the meantime and try to find your mix of, okay, are you focusing on agent attraction and business? It's just like I always talk about time and money. You're going to have an ebb and flow of both of them to some degree.
Yeah, that's great. Guys, for those of you who joined a little bit after we started, today's Q&A, so you can go ahead and mute yourself and ask Coti whatever you want. It's already her second time here, so feel free to unmute and participate. But I also would like to ask you, like, well, it was kind of natural for you, as you said, because you're just doing your best and hard work and putting yourself out there. But was there a moment when it clicked, like, hey, I'm going to Icon, and once I Icon, I'm going to get my cat back, and then I can start thinking, you know, was there a moment when they were like, hey, I just have to do a little bit more, I just have to push myself a little bit more, I'm getting calls? Like, when was there like, hey, I'm going to Icon, it's my first year, I'm just beginning and I'm rocking it? And also, if there was something that was like very, very helpful, like training that you saw, an event that you went, that was like, that really gave you the strength to like push yourself and work hard every single day to get to your goal.
Mm-hmm. One, I don't even think that I knew we Iconed when we Iconed. Ty keeps track of all of that stuff.
I was going to ask you, did you even have time to think like, oh my gosh, I'm going to Icon? You Iconed so fast, and just, it was amazing.
I don't know that I don't know when. I couldn't tell you. Like, we had to go back and look at it. But again, it wasn't, for me, I can't say this enough. Like, when you don't know what normal is, and then you figure out what you need out of this business, it is all accomplishment. That's part of kind of my mindset now when it comes to agent attraction. Like, unfortunately, I've because it's so new, I've started to analyze and look at this, and I need to stop that. I need to say, okay, how many people do I want this first year, and just do it, right? When I didn't know any of that about what normal was for iconing, I didn't even think about it. So I don't honestly even know that I knew the moment we did. I honestly think it was like literally a couple months later that I was like, oh, this is why our checks are bigger, because after you icon, the fees change. Like, I had zero idea. But you know, the thing about it was, to me, it's not even about the second. It's also about the long term. And I say that to my clients all the time, even. I say, you know, I want to be really clear when we're taking care of your home, or, you know, to buy or sell it. I'm not looking for this to be a transaction. I'm like, I want to be very transparent with you. I'm looking to be your realtor, earn the right to be your realtor for life. And I'm looking for you to be a good referral source for me in this community. I say that to people all the time. And so it wasn't even about iconing this year, but it was about building a foundation of, again, like, sounds bad, but legitimacy to my business. You know, your real estate business is only going to be taken as seriously as you take it by the people around you that see you as a realtor. So if they see me out there and building a business where I am, you know, it sounds bad, but in the beginning, it's busy. If people equate busy to successful, and that's what you have to be in the beginning. So it's lots of, you know, showings and listings and pictures and letting everybody know on social media what you're doing. But no, there wasn't anything that I didn't know when we did. There was nothing that really like changed about it. And if I had to do it probably all over again, I still wouldn't keep track of it. That's just me, because I think if you work and you say to yourself, you're going to do it, you're going to do it. You're going to find a way to make it happen. I know I keep coming back to Lynn, but I know Lynn was charting hers and she kept saying, I'm going to hit icon, I'm going to hit icon. And she was so worried. And then lo and behold, she found out she had already icon anyway, right? So I think sometimes we have this analysis paralysis that will like hold us back because we're so busy analyzing the pieces that go to it. And instead of doing the pieces that it takes to get there, we're analyzing it. And it's a big fat waste of time, right? If you're spending 10 minutes on spreadsheets, now granted, I am not that person. I am not that spreadsheet person. I don't even know how to log into our Skype, for God's sakes. I would rather see 10 minutes spent in a community, pop into a small business, say hi, introduce yourself, pop into, another, I don't know, entrepreneur in town, have coffee with them, something. That 10 minutes is better spent in my mind to building your business than analyzing the widgets behind the scenes. Don't get me wrong, you have to have those, because otherwise then, here you are like me 3 years later and you're like, I don't have a, my CRM kind of looks like a hot mess and stuff. But I think when you're building and wanting to get to icon, doing instead of just analyzing is going to serve you much better.
Awesome. Guys, do you have any questions? If yes, unmute yourself and please ask, because otherwise I'm going to keep here asking questions. So I see that
questions are really good.
I had a question. This may have already been addressed. I had some trouble signing in. So I know most of your business is referral based and you don't like purchase leads or anything like that. So are you like making calls daily, or because of the referrals you get, they're just coming in? Because like literally at the level of business, like I always see a post where you have a new listing. I'm like, how the heck is she getting all these deals back to back? So you guys don't make the calls, or like, are you prospecting daily? None of that?
None of it. And I don't want to lead you astray, because I don't want you to make it seem like, oh, just things are coming to me, right? I am literally have my phone. Unfortunately, my husband and my kids will probably tell you right now, it's something I want to work on, but my phone is with me 24/7. Facebook is a huge, huge part of my business. I have people on there, and maybe one time when I circle back to this, I can do a screen share and share it with you guys, but many of you will probably know. I have all my people segmented on Facebook. So everybody is categorized. So I have all the realtors tagged with realtors. I have, prospects. I have like our like our neighborhood group, people that I know are from there. And then I'm also part of the group. And so when I share things, I share a lot of times to specific groups. I very rarely just share to public or friends. Like when I share the EXP stuff right now or things for business, I'm sharing just to realtors. So if you're a friend of mine, you're tagged as realtor, you probably see that.
So Coti,
yeah.
Hold on. I might ask you to be on a Tech Thursday and show us how to do that, because are you doing that in the business suite, Facebook business suite? How are you tagging your people?
I'm doing, so probably not the way everybody recommends to do it, but when I became a realtor, I had 4,800 and some odd friends. I didn't have a business page with anybody in it, right? And so me going to my business page and trying to just post on there would have been like business suicide. I would have like never built a following. I know all the things everybody says, and they say, don't use your business, always use your business page. I honestly rarely use my business page. I do it the opposite. I probably share to my personal page and then share to my business page after that, which again, not the way that everybody should do it. I just had a better following on my personal page. And I will say, part of me completely says, throw that out the window. I think a business page is great for people Googling you and searching you, but real estate is personal. And so to me, this business is relationships, and where I'm getting my business is off of my personal page. People that see me that will share my posts. But Tay, to answer your question, I will tell you a lot of that is because I spent such an immense amount of time in the beginning building a foundation. And that foundation started with our community, reaching out. I mean, one of my very first posts I remember putting out there and saying, okay, I need to be a person that knows other, community involvement people, movers and shakers, other leaders in our community. Who do you look at as a leader in this community? And people would comment with who those small business owners were, who, this person sits on the chamber, this person does this. And I just messaged, I told all of them, thank you for that. I messaged every one of those people and I said, hey, Tay told me, Kimber, that you are part of the chamber and that she really views you as a leader in this community. I'd love to take you out for a coffee. When are you available? And I sat down with every single one of those people. I made that post a few times, but I sat down with all of them. And that meeting, I spent 90% of the time listening to who they were in the community, what they do in the community, what their business was, what their charity was, whatever reason I was meeting with them, right? And then I would spend the last minute to 2 minutes giving them my business card and just saying, Tay, I am so happy I got to learn more about you and what you do in this community. And I have no doubt in my mind, I'll be able to use that information in the future, whether it's connecting new buyers that move into this community or connecting other small business owners. But I want to do everything that I can to be a good neighbor to you, to be a good community leader with you. And I would love that in return. Can I give you some of my business cards? And if you run into somebody that has a real estate need, I would love to earn the right to help them. Would you be okay with that? Everybody said yes, right? I just spent 90% of my time listening about them. People love to talk about themselves, no matter who they are. Even if they're an introvert, extrovert, people love to share, right? So I listened to them. That was the foundation for my relationship in this community, though. And you can start that anytime. And you can start that in a brand new community. You can start it in a community you've lived in forever. We had just moved back here, but we had lived here for years before. And honestly, I didn't know anybody here, so I will tell you, if you haven't done that, if you haven't connected yourself and planted roots in your community, no matter how big or small it is, do that. And ask Facebook, ask your community, ask your sphere who they think of as community leaders. But that's the number one way. And that's still to this day how I continue to grow our business. I will look up Facebook events. I will see what's going on. If if there's a sale at a local boutique, I'll make sure that I pop into the sale. Even if I don't buy anything, I show up for them. If there is, we have different local events here, there'll be something for holidays, there'll be shopping on the square, whatever it is. I try to go to as many things, and so that the small business owner sees me, but also so that I'm seen there, right? I do whatever I can to support. And I promise you, because the other thing is, I remember asking other realtors to come with me, and they're like, well, I don't want to buy anything. And I promise you, most of those folks, they want people to show up to buy, but they also want people just to show up. If you think about events, people just want people to show up for them, right? And they will remember that, and then they'll show up for you.
No, that is very, very helpful. And I definitely can tap back into that area because pre-COVID, I'm heavily involved in my kids' school, and I would show up at the district meetings. I'm actually just got named the vice president of the PTO, but then COVID happened and we're now virtual. So a lot of that slowed up. But I'm hoping everything will start to pick up now that, like I said, I'm the vice president. So I think that's an untapped area that I really need to focus on, according to what you're saying. And you're right, because I have had, I just show up to help because I want to make sure my kids are good. I want to make sure the school is good for them and for other kids. But then, people get nosy and they'll Google you so I don't really have to say that I'm a realtor. They'll find that information out and they'll inquire as they need to. So I think that is very helpful. And then if we do a Tech Thursday, I think that would be really helpful because I know even Yasmin mentioned before how she utilizes the groups. So I think that's an area that I need to focus on too. So yeah, thank you.
I think absolutely. And here's one thing I'll tell you. You just said one thing that just strikes a chord with me. I utilized groups and Facebook a ton while we were during COVID, right? But the other thing I'll tell you is you will never share too much that you're a realtor. Okay, so even when you say, well, they'll Google, they'll know, they'll whatever. I literally just came from a listing appointment earlier where his neighbor is a realtor, and he decided to list with me because he said, I feel like because of what I see online that you are more of a go-getter than he is, right? And he's like, my neighbor literally said, hey, you know, when you need help, I'll help you, because he's trying to be the good guy. And I get that. Don't get me wrong. Like, I always come back, you'll hear me say this a million times, but I come back to a doctor analogy, right? A doctor that walks in and he's trying to be a good guy. And he's like, hey, Tay, we need to do a physical. It's good to see you. How's the family? Okay, well, I kind of need you to take your clothes off and put this robe on. You're like, dude, you're kind of creepy. That just doesn't come across right. But the doctor that comes in that's nice, but also assertive and professional by saying, hey, Tay, it's so great to see you. I hope the family's doing good. Now, the next thing I'm going to need you to do is I'm going to need you to put this robe on. I'm going to be right back here to take care of you, right? You have to be assertive in this business because no one takes you seriously if you don't. You can still be genuine and be nice and care about people and also be assertive and tell people over and over again, because they need to hear it, hey, I want to help you with your real estate needs. When you're ready to list, I'm your girl. You need to come see me. I'm happy to help you. You need to tell people these things, because when we try to be overly nice, they mistake that for thinking that we're not assertive at our job and that we're not good at it. Again, you don't have to be either or. You can be both, right? Just like I can cuss and love Jesus. I mean, it's complicated, but you can be both things.
I love you, Coti. Thank you.
I just loved it because first I didn't even know you could tag your friends on Facebook, like put them into groups. So that was already mind blowing for me. And I just love how involved you are with your community. And that's another thing that I think it's kind of cultural, because I don't see that much this kind of relationship here in Brazil. And I just love how you guys really are about community, like be involved with the kids' school, be involved in local business. And that's great. And because that's true, if people don't see you, they won't remember about you. Like, you have to be seen and always supporting. And I just love that you're there to support. Of course, you want them to know you, to have you as your realtor, but you're not like, that's not just the only reason why you're there. You're also there to support because you understand how important it is for the entire community. So I really loved it. Guys, do you have any more questions? Because we are already a little over the hour and I respect everyone's time. So please go ahead and ask if we have anything else. We see Antonia, Lynn is here. Let's check.
No questions on Facebook.
Okay.
You're awesome, Coti. Thank you so much for all you do for us.
Oh, well, thank you guys.
It
Thanks
was
for jumping on here.
great. Well, before your final words, Coti, final piece of advice and anything you'd like to share, I just want to tell you guys tomorrow, our Wednesday training is with a special host. Tay Leon is going to be hosting it. So she's going to be talking about her experience with teams. Tay, do you want to tell us a little bit what you're going to share tomorrow?
Absolutely. So I'm going to talk about, why you should join a team. And then once you're on a team, when to know to make that exit. So, if it's your goal to stay on the team for a long period of time, that's great. You can absolutely do that. And I know people that have done that. But if you're going just to get that experience and learn and gain all the knowledge, then that transition to becoming a solo agent again. So I'm going to talk about that.
Is that one that we're able to invite people to at all that are not with EXP?
No, that's our private one.
I just know sometimes
That's Tim. I know it's great material. I was going to
suggest. That would be a great one, especially someday to have open up for everybody, because that's a big thing that a lot of people when they come over wonder how teams work here.
Yeah.
That would be a really good one for us to look at in the future.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm also I'm gonna touch on agent attraction too, because that's one of like the biggest objection handlers that I get for newer agents. They're really freaked out and concerned about us being virtual and feeling like they need that one-on-one help, in-person help. And so I actively especially if they're in another state or area, I actively try to find a mentor if they're brand new, or I try to find a team that's available. And, I even had where it was unsuccessful. There was one particular state that only had one mentor and didn't have a team. So the agent ended up leaving, and I couldn't blame them. So it is something that I think will help with agent attraction too. Like if you can kind of do that research beforehand, that's kind of what I'm dealing with right now.
Awesome. So that's what we're going to learn tomorrow. So thank you guys for being here. Thank you, Coti, so much. Coti has helped us so much over this last week. She was hosting the last Icon series. She hosted Why Not? And now here she's sharing more knowledge. So thank you very much. We really appreciate you taking the time. And yeah, just give some final words for us.
I mean, final words, I would just say, if you haven't sat down and put down some goals and have a vision board, a list of something in your phone that you're going after, especially when it comes to being an icon, write them down. And the biggest thing I always say is you cannot necessarily control that outcome, but you can control what it takes to get there. So make sure you have the activities that you hold yourself accountable to. For me, it was, I'm going to grab 3 coffees every week with someone, and I'm going to make sure that I drop off 10 business cards throughout the week. I didn't make cold calls, I didn't do those things, but I held myself accountable to 10 business cards and 3 coffees every single week. So yeah, make sure you have it written down someplace so you can see it all the time.
Okay, thank you very much, Coti. Thank you very much, guys. I'll see you tomorrow for Wednesday training. Have a great day.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.